Hi, friends, and welcome to a new episode of Other Record Labels. I'm your host, Scott Orr. Thank you so much for listening. And today I want to talk about the visual side of music. This is a little bit of an epiphany that I had when I was scrolling through Twitter, and I realized how I discover, as a music fan, how I discover new music. And I want to share it with you, and I want to talk about how we can leverage this reality as record labels to promote our music and to just do a better job at finding new listeners for our artists, which is our job. By the way, if you are involved in marketing and in-house PR with your record label, go to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing. I have a marketing checklist that I use personally. I cleaned it up before I gave it to the world, but I've been using this personally just to make sure that I check off literally a few boxes for every release, whether it be a single or an EP or a new record, just to make sure that I've done the things that I should do to promote a record. And then, of course, there's tons of things you can do on top of that. But this marketing checklist you can get for free by going to otherrecordlabels.com/marketing. Okay. Here's the epiphany I had when it comes to the visual side of music. What I realized was that, gosh, most, if not all, and this may be different for other people, but most, if not all of the new music that I discover, I first see it before I hear it. And what that means is I discover new music when people post about it on Instagram. They post an album cover, or they post a photo of the band. And then I'm like, oh, that's a cool label I like, and that band looks cool, or that album artwork looks cool. And so I'll hop over to Apple Music or to Bandcamp and I'll search it. I follow Bandcamp on Instagram and they post new albums. Oftentimes Spotify will recommend new releases to me and I'll see the album artwork first. Most new music I discover is on Twitter. I follow a lot of journalists or other record labels that I like and I try to support. I follow blogs and music writers and other musicians, and they're often posting a link to an album that just came out that they're inspired by or that their label is releasing. All of these discoveries are happening visually. Before I hear the music, I see a picture of the artist, or I see a picture of the vinyl pressing and all the variants, and I see an album cover. And I can think of an album that came out and it was promoted by a friend of mine, and the artwork was designed by an artist I really like. And I keep seeing this record show up in my news feed all the time in the different variants of vinyl. And I was like, finally, I'm like, I got to listen to this record because everyone's talking about it and I've only seen about it. So this is a reality. Now, some of you may say, listen, I discover most of my music through college radio, so this doesn't apply to me. Some of you may say, I only listen to playlists, and most of our listeners only listen to playlists. And so we discover music that way. But in this visual world, and the internet is so visual with Instagram and YouTube and even on Twitter with words and images and links, the reality is that we're actually attracting our listeners visually before they get a chance to hear our music. So I have 4 tips that I want to share with you. And you may disagree with this, but I do believe, I know it to be true for me personally, and I imagine it's true for some of you. And you can let me know by emailing me at podcast@otherrecordlabels.com. I'm really curious. But how can we leverage this reality, and what should we as record labels be doing to attract listeners with their eyes? Okay, so number 1 is album artwork. It's very simple. I have been a huge advocate for good album artwork. I am so passionate about album artwork. It annoys my artists. It annoys my friends. It even annoys me sometimes because I want to love a record because the music is good, but the album artwork is bad. And so it's a dichotomy for me. But album artwork, let's be intentional about album artwork. Let's encourage our artists to take some time with their album artwork, and hopefully you're allowing your album release to have a generous amount of lead time so that you can sit and be intentional with your album artwork. Maybe you contact an artist and see if you can license their album artwork. We, for one of our releases, we contacted an artist. We paid a fee to use one of their paintings, and it was by far our most popular album cover. And luckily, we got to to press it to vinyl. And so we had the big copy of it, and it got so much attention. And the artists themselves actually got a ton of attention because of this piece of artwork. So remember, people are scrolling through Instagram and they're scrolling through Twitter, and the album cover, or even when they go to Spotify on Friday mornings or Apple Music or wherever, to Bandcamp to check out new releases, the first thing that they're going to see is your album artwork before they even hear it. So keep that in mind. Number 2 is product images. And when we did an interview with Bandcamp, we talked about how important product images are. But the second way that I discover new music is when people post a picture of a CD cover or a cassette cover. I love the way cassette artwork looks. Or vinyl. Vinyl is so popular now, and even on Amazon, they're posting different color variants and they're showing the actual record. And so showing a mock-up of, and by the way, you can get a vinyl Photoshop mock-up template from our website at otherrecordlabels.com in the resources tab. It's free to download. But showing what that actual vinyl looks like, or doing product photos and images of that vinyl or CD or cassette or whatever, even physical merchandise, is very, very attractive, and it works really well in social media. I love seeing when people post a picture of their vinyl variants and the different colors that they're doing, or the different features that vinyl has. And so make sure you do good product images of you can use mock-ups that before the vinyl comes out. Your pressing plant should be able to help you with that, or your graphic designer can help you with that. Or to actually, when you get the products in hand, t-shirts or vinyl or tapes or CDs, to take good photos of them. The third thing is to post pictures of the creative process. This is another time I've discovered new music, is when people post studio photos. I love studio photos. I love seeing gear. I love seeing guitar pedals and mics and drum kits all mic'd up in a studio. And so sometimes people will post a little GIF or a little video of the band recording in the studio. And I'm like, man, that looks really cool. I bet you it sounds good. And most times it does. So make sure you're taking lots of pictures during the recording process, or if the artist is a bedroom artist, make sure that they're sharing their process as well, because that's going to be really attractive to music fans and to journalists and stuff who are scrolling through Twitter or Instagram and they see a cool workstation or a setup of an artist recording at home or in the studio. And that could be a cool way to get people to check out the music. The fourth and final thing is just professional photos. I mean, and these photos don't have to be glossy or cheesy, but be intentional about the photos. And when I first got started, I always had my wife take like our family digital camera and take a picture of me, which was super awkward, and she was pretty decent actually. But anyway, now in the last couple of records, I've always, shelled out the money to get good photos taken. And recently, the last 3 records I've done photo shoots with 3 different photographers on film. I love film. I love the way it looks when they scan it. And I think that there's something impactful about seeing a cool picture with kind of desaturated colors and a bit of noise. So, that's always a cool thing. So be really intentional and strategic with getting good photos done of the band. Maybe you can do a good shot with your iPhone. That's cool. Just make sure you get lots of photos out there, because remember, the reality for me, maybe not for you, maybe not for everyone, but the reality for me is that I am first discovering music visually before I get a chance to hear it. It's just natural. It's not my choice. I'm not listening to tons of playlists or to the radio, but the way, for the most, that I'm discovering music that I fall in love with, it is by seeing it before I hear it. So I don't know if you agree with me. If you agree with me, if that's you too, please leave a comment or email me and let me know. I'm kind of curious how you discover music. But if the visual side of things is important to you, or subconsciously it ends up being important, then let me know. Thank you so much for listening. Go to otherrecordlabels.com to get some resources for record labels.